we're ready to go.
Yep. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 23rd, 2022 hearing of the Islip Zoning Board of Appeals. Notice is hereby given that the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Islip will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022 on the following applications at the times listed or as soon thereafter as they may be reached. At such time, all interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard. When you hear your name called, if you could just please come down to the podium. Application number 604-22, Christopher Albrecht. Permission to erect one-story addition 20 by 28, leaving floor area ratio of 28.25% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, west side of Hiram Avenue, 100 feet north of Clarice Boulevard, Holbrook.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record, please.
Hmm?
Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Brian Kiefner, BryanKuefner. My address is 2410 North Ocean Ave, Suite 300, Farmingville, New York. And the owner's representative.
Great. How are you tonight?
I'm sorry. Yeah, we're seeking permission to exceed the 25% FAR by about 3.25% for a one-story garage addition to the existing garage on the property. We're kept it within the side yard setbacks, and it's also going to match the back of the house. So it won't be expanding any farther back than the existing house.
Great. I'm sure you know that we see up to 30% here, probably weekly when we meet. So I think you're right in the wheelhouse. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to grant the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great night.
All right, thank you very much.
Application number 605-23, David and Margaret Brecht. Permission to erect one-story addition, leaving rear yard of 22 feet instead of required 25 feet, and to leave 6-foot fence having setback of 0.5 feet instead of required 10 feet. Residence A District, northeast corner of Trumpet Lane and Coates Avenue, Holbrook.
Hi, good evening. David Brecht. What else do you need? My address?
Just your address, yeah.
223 Trumpet Lane, Holbrook, New York.
How are you tonight?
How are you? But basically what we're looking to do is just what it says. We're trying to square off the back of the house. The house was built in 1971, so it was set 22 feet back from the property line, and we're just looking to stay along those lines to square off the house so it doesn't look strange when we do it. And also the 6-foot fence that we have on our property, we were informed a couple weeks ago that we had to also have that added into the variance because it's not the required 10 feet from, I guess, the property line.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the code was changed a few years ago saying that if your lot area is 11,250, you could have a 6-foot fence on a property line, but if it's larger than that, it either has to be 4 foot on a property line or 10 feet back.
Okay. Is there anything, I mean, we have to change the fence? Because that's how the house was built. And if we take the fence down, we lose 8% of our property. I mean, it's 600 square feet.
Well, you don't have to
basically.
take it down. You can just lower it to 4 feet or move it in. You could put 100-foot arborvitaes behind the 4-foot fence. It sounds silly.
Say that again, I'm sorry?
You could put 100-foot arborvitaes behind the 4-foot fence, but you can't have a 6-foot fence at the property line.
So if we put a 4-foot fence up, I can put a 6-foot behind it? Is what you're saying,
No.
technically?
No.
Or, I mean,
No. I'm saying,
He was pointing out how absurd the code is.
yes. I said you
We're still bound by it.
put
just
every,
have to name and address for the record, please.
Margaret Brecht. Hi. Everyone else on the block has the same fence line. Like we're all in line together. So everyone's going to be in line and then ours has to be set back. It's just going to look strange.
They'll be here eventually.
Well, the way that I'm looking at it, it's not your front
Oh, I
fence
can't
that's
see.
the issue. It's the side yard fence that's along.
right.
Coats.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and all those houses along the coast, every one of them, because we drive down it every day, they're almost all,
They're
and
all
they're setting
lined.
the same where they're facing the side.
So ours
street.
is going to be set back and
Ours
everyone
gonna be
else is
set
all in
back
line.
more.
Sorry.
I apologize.
I hear your aggravation and understand it totally, but we don't write the code. We just have to uphold it. So, you know, we hear your argument multiple times a month.
To do the construction then for the extension, we have to take the fence down.
You either have to move it 10 feet back or it has to be 4 foot on the property line.
And that's probably prior to the issuance of the CO.
It spoke to you at the town.
You did.
Yes, and you had told me that it might not be an issue, that it might not even come up in the variance meeting. And then I
That's
got
what
my
might
letter,
means. It might and it might not, right?
and then I got my letter, and it was in the meeting itself.
Oh, no, I told you then that it was going to be in the call of the meeting. I absolutely
I
did.
don't remember that. I thought you
Why
said
don't we
that
do
it might be
this?
something.
Wait. Let's not get into discussion.
No, no.
Wait. Listen to me. We don't need to go there. We're telling you what we have to do. It's not a discussion of who said what.
So everything other than the fence is okay then, correct? Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, hold on, we gotta take a vote. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Make a motion that we deny so much of the application, leave a 6-foot fence, but grant the remainder.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Application number 606-22, Babette and Luis Montanez Senior. Permission to erect one-story addition, 12 by 22, leaving side yard of 12.5 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence A District, south side of Studley Street, 1,025 feet west of Broadway, Brentwood.
Good evening. Babette Montanez, 36 Dudley Street, Brentwood, New York, 11717. We are here seeking approval to erect a one-car garage attached, measuring the 12-foot by 22-foot, which would leave a variance of the 12 and a half feet instead of
Yeah,
the
instead of
14. Yeah.
That sounds de minimis to me. Deirdre from planning, any objection? Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. McCauley, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Application number 607-22, Deborah Langland. Permission to leave jacuzzi having side yard of 7 feet instead of required 18 feet. Pool patio having side yard of 5 feet instead of required 6 feet. Driveway and pavers having side yard of 2 feet instead of required 4 feet. And shed with roof over having side yard of 1.5 feet and rear yard of 3.7 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residence AA District, south side of 42nd Street, 240 feet west of Grand Boulevard, Iceland.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record, please.
Deborah Langland, 54 42nd Street. Nice to
How are
meet
you tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good. So you have a jacuzzi, a little too close, pool patio, which seems de minimis, 5 instead of 6. We see that a lot. Driveway, 2 instead of 4. We see that. Shed with roofed over, 1, 5, and 3, 7 instead of 4. All seems de minimis. If you have been here before, you hear what I always say about jacuzzis. You can't cannonball them. It's not a pool. So I'm all right with that. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to grant the application.
Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
All in favor?
Application number 608-22, Giuseppe Costa and Nicole Panino Costa. Permission to leave shed having second front yard of 1.3 feet instead of required 27 feet. Pool patio having second front yard of 5.5 feet instead of required 22 feet. Shed having rear yard of 1.5 feet instead of required 2 feet. And 6-foot fence on property line not having required setback of 10 feet. Residence A District, northeast corner of Adelaide Lane and Marlborough Lane, East Iceland.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
Okay.
Just name and address for the record, please.
Nicole Panino Costa, 57 Adelheid Lane, East Islip, New York, 11730.
Great. It's just, sir, if you would like to speak to, you just have to give your name and address. If you don't, then you don't have to.
My name is Giuseppe Costa, 57 Adelaide Lane, East Islip 11732.
Great.
So I know we're looking at several issues here, but the real problem is that our side yard, our rear yard is considered a front yard because we live on a corner to a dead end street. Are a couple things on the survey in front of you. It's listed as a movable shed. I also sent pictures to the town showing that it snaps together. It's actually a playhouse for children. I sent several pictures. I don't know.
I'm sorry, the shed's a playhouse? Or is that-
It's a playhouse that snaps together. I know it's listed as a shed because when we had the survey done after the pool was installed, the survey did not have a playhouse option to put on the survey, so he wrote movable shed.
Do you have photographs of it?
I sent 4 photographs over to A. Cirolo at islipnewyork.gov about 3 weeks ago.
I'll call him.
It's 6 foot, exactly.
It's like one of those ones that was like thick glass, like the hollow glass that my girls have.
It's a cedar. So,
Oh,
but it like,
boy.
it snaps together. Right now it has pool cushions. It's not it's a movable shed. They did list it on the survey.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's a playhouse. It's right outside of our kitchen window. I can see where our daughter is playing. So it's kind of set up that I can keep my eye on her. I know, it's this whole thing with it being a front yard. 'Cause
Where
we live on a
I'm
corner.
sorry, where is it located? If somebody could show.
The kitchen window is in the back of the house. You want to show them where the kitchen window is?
Yeah, so we have the same issue now with your 6-foot fence on the property line, not 10
For
feet
me,
back.
when we bought the house, we just bought the house, what, a year and a half ago? The fence was there. We didn't touch it. The neighbor across the street has the same thing.
Yeah, I totally understand that. We hear, just like we heard the last family, two applications ago, the same thing. We don't write the code, we just have to uphold it. So unfortunately, your property is a little bit too big from where the code says it can have a 6-foot fence on a property line. And
So now with a pool, we should have a 4-foot fence. Because this was where the application was from, the pool. So if we lower that, is that not violating the code for the height of a fence near a pool?
I don't think there has to be any height for the pool. I think it's
Requirement for
fence there.
pools, that's fine.
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
not 100% sure about that, but I'm almost positive that it just has to be fenced in, not height-wise.
okay, so if a child jumps over the fence, that's fine.
Again,
I mean,
I don't,
a
I know
4-foot
you're
fence is
upset,
not-
I understand that, but I don't make the code. I'm just here to uphold it, so I'm trying to let you understand what we have to do also.
Okay, so we need to install a 4-foot fence in front of the 6-foot fence, and then we should be good? Is that what you just explained
No,
2
no,
people ago?
No.
You can't have a 6-foot fence on the property line and a 4-foot fence. If you have a 6-foot fence, it's got to be set back 10 feet.
I made
And
the,
it's set back
I tried to make a joke earlier
5 feet?
that I always say that you can put the fence at 4 feet and put 100-foot arborvitae's behind it. I was trying to be funny.
Say how it's no problem to have a 100-foot tree behind it, but the 6-foot fence is a problem.
Is a problem.
Okay.
Usually he's funny.
Yes.
Okay.
Today-
I'm
today
just-
not so
my
much.
concern is the pool. My concern is the children that live around us. There is, a pool. Now we're going to lower the fence 2 feet.
You know,
Sounds,
I
it
think
sounds
that-
dangerous.
I think maybe we should reserve decision on this and we'll discuss it as a board. And we'll look at your area, we'll look at where the property is located with this dead end and we'll render a
Okay.
decision.
And the other thing is that, the pool permit is going to expire in October. So will I have a decision before then?
Well, we have 62 days by law to reserve.
The pool permit won't expire because you have a receipt for the zoning board in the
Yes,
system. So
yes.
our application is on reserve. The pool permit will not expire.
Okay, and there should be pictures that, that I
There should be.
did send over.
Did
Um,
Austin reply and say received?
No,
Then maybe he didn't receive them.
Can you resend them again, do you mind?
I will. Can you give me an address that same one, A Cirillo? It was ACIROLA.
That's it.
That's it. That's who I sent it to. Okay, I will resend that. We could see that the date is prior to this meeting.
That's
I mean,
fine.
we
It's
want to
okay.
be in compliance. We did read the information about the patio, on the town website. We thought we were all in compliance,
else-
and then it's just like a list because we're on the corner and
Everything
that's a
else
front
looks
yard.
Okay, in your application, we just gotta discuss the fence.
Okay, all right,
So if
thank
you
you.
can send those pictures over so we can have them, look at them, and we can have fun
Send
in the
it
file, it'd be
tonight.
great.
Thank
Does
you.
anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? I'll make a motion to reserve decision. All in favor?
Okay, thank you.
Have a great night.
Application number 609-22, Teresa and Charles Gravina Jr., permission to leave pool patio having side yard of 5 feet instead of required 6 feet, and driveway on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet, and having front yard occupancy of 51.6% instead of permitted 35%. Residence A District, east side of Division Avenue, 435 feet south of Union Boulevard, East Iceland.
Hello,
Good evening.
good evening.
Name and address for the record, please.
Charles Gravina, 29 Division Avenue in East Iceland.
How are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
They're well, thanks. So your pool patio seems de minimis, driveway seems de minimis. We see them a lot. Front yard occupancy. Their code says 35, we give up to 40. So however you get from 51 to 40.
So I did some homework. I mean, unfortunately, I think I just have a very small front yard as well with our setback. One of my neighbors was approved for 47%.
On front yard occupancy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the house,
We do?
yep.
Do we know what the facts are?
It's just across to me in one
Oh, yeah,
south.
down, same section of driveway.
Yeah.
Actually, can you get to 47?
I had my surveyor, it was stamped, the copy that I handed him more recently, it was, well, he stamped it at 49.9. I was hoping I could just, it's a well-done driveway, pavers,
I
the works.
understand, but if we keep creeping and keep creeping and keep.
Yeah, I
creeping, we tell
understand
the
that.
next person that comes in.
I-
So we have to hold, again, we don't
Okay.
write the code. We just.
So, I mean, could I have the same standards as the home there, the 47?
Say one more time?
Could I have the same standards as the 47 across the
47.
street?
Yeah, so we'll take a vote, and if you can get to 47, however you get there, just gotta get to 47.
Sounds good.
You can speak with planning, sometimes they have ways to make a walkway or planters that put down in front, I can see, I don't know that for a fact, but maybe you do your homework a little bit more before
I'll
you
look
go
into
cutting
it,
it up.
absolutely.
All right?
Yep.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? The board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. Yep.
Motion to deny that portion of the application for a front yard occupancy 51.6%, instead to grant 47%, and to grant the balance of the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, sir.
You too, thank you.
Take care.
Application number 610-22, Walter Arietta, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-602, Residence A District, north side of First Avenue, 444.4 feet east of Carlton Avenue, Central Iceland.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just name and address for the record, please.
Walter Arietta, 12 First Avenue.
Great, how are you tonight?
Good.
Good, you're here seeking permission to establish an accessory apartment, apartment 752 square feet, driveway complies. Everything seems to be in order, owner occupied, correct? You're gonna live there?
Yes.
Great, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? The board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Great, good to see you in 3 years.
Thank you.
No problem.
Application number 611-22, Central Islip Associates LLC. Permission to leave ground sign having area of 31 square feet instead of permitted 16 square feet, leaving structural support having combined width of 28 inches instead of permitted 24 inches. Plan Development District, multifamily, northwest corner of Eastview Drive and Lowell Avenue, Central Islip.
Good evening.
Good evening. Jennifer Johnson, 1295 Northern Boulevard, Manhasset, New York, 11030.
Good evening tonight. How are you tonight? I mean,
I'm
sorry.
good. How are you? So we are requesting to have the sign left. We do have the required setback. This property is actually condos and apartments. So rather than doing two separate signs, we felt the one sign beautified the entrance from Lowell onto Eastview.
It's already built.
Yes.
Just a question, how many units did they build there?
There's 184 condos and there will be 100 apartments.
Okay.
So it's
you're
a
building
large-
Almost 300 units. Does anybody check the town code, all the engineers and architects?
Well, the project manager that was there is no longer with us, and this is one of the reasons why.
All over a sign?
You fired him to give
It's
them a
one of the
sign?
reasons.
Nice.
It's one of the reasons.
It looks nice.
But it is, and I do have a letter from the HOA. They love the sign there.
It's a pretty sign. Either from planning any.
It
objection?
looks good. It's lit up at night. I mean,
No objections? Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion granted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Case you granted.
thank you. Have a
Have a
good
good night.
evening.
Application number 612-22, Lofts on Ocean LLC, permission to install ground sign in BD District with principal building having front yard of 10 feet instead of required 25 feet required for a ground sign. with sign having front yard of 5 feet instead of required 5.66 feet. BD District, south side of Ocean Avenue, 126.39 feet west of Main Street, Bay Shore.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, fellow board members. We have a couple of handouts.
Just
probably
name and
in-
address, sir, please. We know who you are, but the record needs to know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's right. Charles Ferraro from Bayberry Capital Group, the owner of Lost on Ocean, and my daughter Blaine Ferraro, the owner of the management company,
Great.
who's gotten us to this far. I have a couple of handouts. It's probably infrequently that, can she bring them up here?
Yeah.
I was hoping Blaine was going to present.
Oh, well, she could practice. I was hoping that she would.
Yeah.
It's probably infrequently that you get to see a picture of a property that you approved back in 2017. So in these handouts, there's a photograph of the building that you approved for us from a 2.5 story to allow a 2.6 story.
Yep.
So you'll see the copy of the survey with a mark out of where the sign is. And there's a couple of pictures that I presented that show exactly where the sign is to be placed on the property. So I believe we're looking for a side yard, or it says a front yard setback, but it's kind of like a side yard, I guess, because the front yard is on the street, but the building faces the parking lot.
Okay.
I mean, I think we're looking for one point of 5
Yep.
feet.
Let me just ask planning, is there any objection from planning with the sign? Perfect. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Any more
No,
statements? You good?
we're good.
Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant.
All in favor?
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great job.
Thank you.
Application number 613-22, Kevin and Carrie Przybylowski. Permission to leave in-ground pool having rear yard of 9.5 feet instead of required 10 feet. Pool patio having rear yard of 5.2 feet instead of required 6 feet. Shed having side yard of 1.6 feet and rear yard of 1.2 feet. And shed having rear yard of 1.6 feet instead of required 2 feet each. Residence B District, west side of Greeley Avenue, 606.97 feet south of Tower Street, Sayville.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. All the requests presented are for minimal relief.
Mr. Chipkowski, just need your name and address.
Oh,
for
I'm
the
sorry,
record.
yes.
Not, we know
Richard
you are.
Trupakowski, agent, TRPICOVSKY, 173 North Main Street, Salem, New York.
Thank you. So it seems that they went off the fence, not the property line.
Yeah, somebody had a bad tape measure.
Yeah, I see that, because the fence is 0.8 in, 0.6 in.
Says all the requests presented are for minimal relief,
Yeah.
less than a foot, perhaps during installs a poor tape measure was used, or minimal, seem to comply with other pools, sheds, etc. in the neighborhood,
I think
and
you
will
did a
not
great
have
job.
any adverse impacts on the neighborhood.
I think you did a great job.
Thank
Just to let the record know, I know Sable well. It's an inside joke, sorry. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion. All in favor? Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Oh,
Application
yeah,
number 614-22, Lewis and Jennifer Bruno. Permission to leave shed having 9 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of required 20 feet, and 2 storage containers having 3 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of required 4 feet. Residence AAA District, 278 Cluster, southeast side of Percy Williams Drive, 214.34 feet west of Ashley Court, East Iceland.
Good evening again, Mr. Chakowski. How are
Good
you?
evening again. Rich Tripka, okay, we're good, okay. This application is unique as it is not the usual cookie cutter property. It runs along the radius of Percy Williams Drive. The homeowner has invested heavily to create a property fitting to the area. The 10 by 14 shed sits 50 feet back from the property line actually, and has been there approximately 12 years, with no complaints to my knowledge. Considering the distance from the house, this does not create any undesirable appearances the town is trying to avoid.
So-
I have photos showing the shed, which is pretty much hid by PVC fencing and landscaping.
Let me interrupt you a second. So the shed
Sure.
you're stating was, the code changed back probably 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah,
10
so it
feet.
may predate it.
Yeah, so you're right around that time. You said it
Yes.
probably predated that. Okay.
Correct.
And then the other plastic storage containers, what are they?
One is the small, like 3 foot high garbage container where you put
Yeah.
garbage cans in.
Three instead
And
of
the other
4
one
feet.
is where it barely doesn't even reach over the fence, the PVC fence, which is for garden tools.
I think, I don't think you should have an issue. We'll take a vote. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wax, I'll take him.
That's fine. That's fine. No.
Me?
I
You
think
still
so.
want me? You want to move on?
No, I thought East Islip was Chris. I get confused.
I just,
No.
I randomly.
Yeah,
You
you
fighting?
can-
Are you fighting for that territory?
I was looking for a motion. Chairman, I have a motion that we grant the application.
All in favor? Application granted.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
night, everybody.
Application number 615-22, Josephine and John Paul Fumano Jr., trustees of the Ann Fumano Family Trust. Permission to leave enclosed entrance having side yard of 9 feet instead of required 14 feet, driveway on-side property line not having required setback of 4 feet, and having front yard occupancy of 100% instead of permitted 35%. Residence A District, east side of Piper Court, 390.43 feet south of Skipper Drive, West Islip.
Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Good. Name and address for the record.
John Fumano, 23 Piper Court, West Islip, New York.
How are you tonight?
I'm good, how about yourself?
Good.
I don't think we've ever seen 100%.
No.
We've seen 60, 65, 70, but never seen 100%.
What is it? White gravel?
Yeah, it was that way when I bought the house in 1983.
Some people say grass.
It's beautiful, actually.
It's been like that since 83?
I'm sorry,
It's been like that since 1983?
it's before that.
Wow. Wow.
Unfortunately, you got to plant some grass. What's under it? Dirt.
I think there's like a plastic coating that I think the rocks were put on.
So here's our issue. We have a code that says, specifically says 35% front yard occupancy. They want vegetation. That was the legislative intent of the code. We normally see up to 40%, maybe some more if we have some reasons to, but 100%. And I'm not saying it doesn't look nice, but everyone else that we told have to trim their driveway down or whatnot, we throw it all out the window now.
The notation that the young lady made when we were going through all this said it predates the code.
You mean in zoning?
Who's the young lady, you remember? Her name?
Well, then we're going to have to check aerials and all that stuff.
So the current conservation is actually.
Teresa Bayo,
Teresa Bayo, you said?
Bayo,
Bayo, yeah.
Yes, Bayo. So the, I think the regulation concerning front yard occupancy and driveway setback was December 12, 2006. So sometimes we use the 04 aerial to date them.
But before that, there was no rule.
No driveway setback.
Can
No
we-
front
can we
yard
see an
occupancy.
aerial from 04 if you could see a picture? I don't know which one the house is.
In blue.
But it looked like it's all.
That's better.
Yeah.
But then just can we go to the next year or the next? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Can you go before 84? That looks like it's still Whitestone.
Yeah.
All right.
That looks like a
It's a
driveway though.
driveway.
That's a driveway.
They also said we got patches in there on all the.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah, patches there too. That's amazing.
Wow.
I don't know how do we- I guess we gotta write it properly, right? That,
Yeah, we could.
Bill,
really think you can write this one?
and there was no code before 2006 regarding
Not to
that?
regulate driveway setback or front yard occupancy.
So you could put all white stones and,
It just wasn't regulated.
wow.
All right, does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
Also, there was about the side entrance.
Oh, yeah, we got a couple of little things, this little entrance.
Oh, sorry about that. I got stuck on the white stone.
A lot of people get stuck on the white stone or rush
The
out.
decision will say it has to say the white stone.
Yeah.
Permission to leave it closed.
You don't want to
entrance.
change the white stone, right? You ought to like pink stone or purple stone.
To match the pink flamingo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Deirdre, any objection with the side entrance? No objections. All right, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application based on the data that shows that the 100% front yard occupancy predates the code by a good number of years.
And it should have to stay white, right, stone? Well,
Well, it can't be paved over. In other words, you don't get the 100% front yard occupancy for
No.
pavement after
I have
this.
no intentions to pave.
But anytime you want to put grass, feel free. And Chris will come by and cut it.
You know, the two people that owned the house before were sailboaters. So I think they put stones in so that they could get out on their boat and not have to hold it along.
roll it along.
I think that was their plan.
As a friend.
Okay.
All right. All in favor?
Uh,
Application granted. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Have
Thank
a
you very
great
much. Thank you.
Application number 616-22, Robert and Samantha Levinas. Permission to erect one-story addition, 27.2 by 36, leaving side yard of 8 feet instead of required 14 feet, and to leave driveway on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, northeast corner of North Ontario Street and Canoe Place, Ronkonkoma.
Good evening.
Good evening, I'm Samantha Levinas, 209 North Ontario Street, Ronkonkoma, 11779.
How are you tonight?
Good, thank you. How are you guys?
Doing great.
We are looking to have a garage, attached garage, built on our side property, not on Canoe Place, on the other side. I guess that's the Parkway, I think, is the cross street, and we're also looking to have the driveway that's already there is on the property line, I believe. So we're looking to see if we can have variance into keeping that as opposed to having to have it moved.
So I'm not sure if you have this answer, so I'm going to kind of ask it towards you and towards Deirdre. Any precedent for the side yard of 8 instead of 14?
Excuse me?
Do you know of any precedent for a side yard of 8 instead of 14?
No.
Did any?
There is precedent for keeping in mind the existing household, but the precedent is 4.5, 5.5,
Yeah. All right.
when was the deal? When was the half a foot?
You do have precedent, by the way.
Oh, I do. I'm sorry. I don't know these things. I'm sorry.
That's why I asked. I said I was going to ask the both of you because I assumed you didn't have the answer to that. So I was leading it for us.
I'm very nervous. Thank
Oh,
you.
Paris, we don't bite. It's just zoning board. It's easy. So we have precedent. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion. All in favor? Application granted. Good luck.
Thank you.
Application number 617-22, Christopher Nicolia. Permission to erect facade modification resulting in floor area ratio of 25.57% instead of permitted 25%. To leave shed having rear and side yards of 1.5 feet instead of required 2 feet each. and patio having rear and side yards of 1.5 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residence AA District, north side of Larry Lane, 167 feet west of Oak Neck Lane, West Islip.
Let the record.
Good evening, Mr. Wexler, members of the board. Scott DeBardino, architect with offices at 319 Sunrise Highway, West Islip, New York.
Good evening. How are you tonight?
Good evening, sir. I'm fine, thank you. I have a handout, may I?
You're not vouching for your client, then.
Yeah. So,
The reason really that we're here tonight is just to request a relief in FAR. The project really consists of mostly front facade renovations. What's there now, if you look at the first page, which is an aerial map, will show the front portion of the house is sort of arched in the front with rounded corners. That's all glass block if you look at it from the road. So the proposal is to remove that, square that out, and modernize it, try to bring the front of the house up into character with the neighborhood.
sure. And
The result of that is closing off those corners, and there's an increase in FAR. It's also important to note this property, when the house was built, was a 20,000 square foot yard. There has since in the past been a dedication of 7 feet along the back, which results in the property area now being 19,300, which pushed up the existing FAR.
Sure. Either way, we see up to 30% on FAR weekly every time we meet. So you're at 25.57. I don't see an issue with that. I'm sure we'll have to see if anyone wants to be heard or vote on the board. We
There's
also have
two other
shed-
items actually on that list.
Yep, there's the sheds we see all the time, 1.5 instead of 2, that's de minimis. Patio, 1.5 instead of 4, we see that all the time also, it's de minimis. So I think that we're okay if you're okay. You good? Does anyone
sir.
wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion necessary.
All in favor? Application granted.
Thank you very
Have
much.
a great night.
You too.
Application number 618-22, Sydney Abrahams. Permission to erect one-story addition, 22 by 30, leaving side yard of 10 feet instead of required 14 feet. One-story and second-story additions, leaving side yards of 11.9 feet and 13.8 feet instead of required 14 feet each. Total side yards of 25.7 feet instead of required 28 feet. And floor area ratio of 30.4% instead of permitted 25%. Residence A District, west side of Ocean Avenue, 252 feet south of Rockaway Street, West Islip.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Eric Bjornby. I'm the architect of record with offices at 4250 Veterans Memorial Highway, Suite 2040W, Holbrook, New York, 11741.
Mr. Yonby, can you pull up that microphone because we can't hear you with this wonderful acoustic here?
Is that better? Sure. It's BJORNEBY.
Thank you.
So the property in question is an interior lot approximately 75 by 178 feet with a total lot size of 13,350 square feet in an A residence zone. We're here seeking permission for several variances, including to increase the home to accommodate for a 3-generational family, as well as new requirements for work at home environment with increasingly common today. The residence will remain a single family.
Slow down a little bit.
Sure.
We can't
Sure.
really hear you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
You can yank that microphone up straight so you're not bent over, and then we can probably speak into it a little
All right.
bit.
Is that better?
That's better.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Slow down. You know
Sure.
how to be better.
You want me to start over?
No, no,
Okay, all right. So we're here proposing to erect a 22 by 30 foot, 1-story rear addition with a side yard of 10 feet instead of the required 14 feet on the north side and a 43-foot side yard on the south side for a total of 53 feet total in the rear. We're proposing a 1-story and second-story addition, leaving side yards of 11.9 feet and 13.8 feet instead of 14 feet each for a total of 25.7 feet instead of the required 28.
So can I interrupt you a second? The 11.9 and 13.8, you're staying in line with the house, which is CO'd at those levels, correct?
Correct.
The 10-foot on the one-story proposed addition, do you have any precedent in the area for 10-foot instead of 14, I believe it is?
I do not have a precedent. We're
Let me ask,
seeking,
did we have any precedent for 10 on the side yard? Okay.
How would, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
God, fish.
how would 11.5 work for you? Hello?
I'm looking.
Oh, I'm
One
sorry.
second, sorry.
It's a nice round number.
So the
It will work?
11.5 will work.
That probably brings your FAR down also and never puts that.
Well, I'll just shift the addition in total over 1.5 feet.
I'm sure West Islip usually has higher precedent for FAR. Do we have any over 30.4 for FAR? Or we always hit the 30%.
So why don't we, then we start destroying what will the, can you, we don't like to go up 30% and there's no precedent. It's an otherwise conforming neighborhood. We try to keep 30%. If there were plenty of applications granted that if it's over that, that's one thing, but otherwise it's completely conforming.
Is the coverage too pushing it over the FAR? Is that counted in FAR, the covered porch? The front? No? I was
I mean,
trying.
Can you get it down to 30%? Because that's where we're going, at least from my perspective. We're going.
I mean, I see other applications above 30% here tonight. We're less than the one that's
But
after us.
30%, that's the price, 30%.
It's 50 feet.
I know, but I don't know. 30% going once.
If-
30%.
Okay.
I knew you could.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we deny the application and request, however, grant of 11.5 feet on the side yard. And also grant 30% of FAR and grant the remaining of the application.
All in favor? Have a good night, sir.
Thank you, you too.
Application number 619-22. Jean Fanfan and Angeline Dusek, permission to erect second-story addition 9.8 by 46.4, leaving floor area ratio of 30.95% instead of permitted 25%, and to leave shed having front yard on a through lot of 3.2 feet instead of required 15 feet. Residence B District, north side of Hillside Lane, 432.37 feet east of Cloverlook Lane, through lot to Bridge Road, Central Iceland.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you
Denise
pull that microphone
Trefaro.
down to you? Just name and address for the record, please.
Denise Trefaro, DTT Designs, 1165 Broadway Avenue, Holbrook. Trifaro.
How are you tonight?
Very good. And you?
Good. So you permission you're erecting a second-story addition. Do you have any precedent for over 30%? Because we see it to 30%.
Yes, their next door neighbor at 20 Hillside Lane received a 32.6%.
32.6. Just one precedent? You have more than one?
Yes. That's the one I have. There might be more. I don't know. But I just know about the neighbor.
All right. And the shed on the through lot is behind that. It looks like wooded area. Switch that through lot too.
Yes, it is a wooded area. And supposedly there's a paper street back there, but that street has actually been built and it's on the other side of those commercial properties.
Okay.
So
that
Bridge
looks like
Road
industrial.
does go through, but it goes straight across to the right.
Yeah, looks like industrial plots back there. too,
Yes.
right? Had any objection to the plan? Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. All in favor? Motion granted.
Thank you.
Okay.
Application number 620-22, Sandra Kolb, permission to erect one-story addition, 25 by 31.3 irregular, and roofed-over porch, 8 by 8, leaving side yard of 7 feet instead of required 14 feet, total side yards of 21.3 feet instead of required 28 feet, and rear yard of 19.7 feet instead of required 25 feet. To leave shed having side yard of 1.9 feet instead of required 2 feet, and to leave pool barrier having 3.5-foot setback from pool instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, north side of Helen Street, 720 feet west of Coates Avenue, Holbrook.
Good evening again.
Me again. Do I repeat my name again?
Please, just for the record.
Denise Trefaro, 1165 Broadway Avenue, Holbrook, DTT Designs.
Tom Kolb, 145 Helen Street, Holbrook, New York.
Great. So the one-story addition, roofed over porch, 7 instead of 14. That's 50% relaxation. Do we have any precedents for that? Have you done any research on that?
I did not see anything. I don't know if anything else was found.
Planning any precedent on 7 instead of 14? Okay, so that's not as well. Oh, okay. So you're stating that planning has no objection to the 7 feet because it's up against nature preserve? Okay.
How do we make sure that's in, is that Will's?
We have this great guy down here that writes really well.
Will, yeah, would you make sure you highlight that? So,
Yes.
Thank
Maybe
you.
you could say in there that if this was adjacent to a neighboring.
You sure?
Will.
Will you say it, Will?
It's just type.
Everything else seems de minimis. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion. All in favor? Application granted.
Great.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Application number 621-22, Barbara Sims, permission to erect second-story addition, 12 by 22.4, leaving side yard of 5.5 feet instead of required 14 feet, and total side yards of 20.6 feet instead of required 28 feet. Residence B District, north side of Marshall Place, 118.56 feet east of North Cliff Avenue, Sayville.
Good evening.
Hi,
Name and address for the record, please.
Barbara Sims,
If you're going
5,
to speak into the microphone, we can't hear.
Barbara Sims, 5 Marshall Place, Sable.
How are you tonight?
Okay,
Just looking at the area. So you have a house that sits pretty close to your property line, and you want to put it a second story on the back
yes,
of it, the rear of it. Rear back corner, I guess you want to call it, northeast. So your neighbor, actually the neighbor to the, I guess you want to call it the east of her, has a really big side down there.
it's on top of existing.
I can't hear.
We're building a little, we're pushing out the back wall, it's already there.
Yeah, you're lifting it up second story in the back. There.
Yeah, just the back wall.
Yep.
what's the length of the addition that runs along the property line that is encroaching?
I can't hear you.
What's the length of the addition that runs along the offending property line? Is it 10 feet, 12 feet? The length of the addition?
The length of it's 12 by 22.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
sure.
you.
And the property line that's up against is going to be all the way, see, it's really far. Looks that off to the right. So it's not like you're going to be looking down at the property. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board, does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion. All in favor? Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Application number 622-22, Michael and Jacqueline Chiancio. Permission to erect one-story addition, 6 by 12.5, and deck, leaving second front yard of 34.9 feet instead of required 50 feet. Residence AAA District, northeast corner of West Lane and Cove Walk, Bay Shore.
Good evening, Mr.
Good
Dunn.
evening, everybody. Hope all is well. My name is Michael Dunn, D-U-N-N, at 256 Orinoco Drive in Brightwaters, New York.
How are you tonight?
Going well, thank you. So they plan on expanding the kitchen in the back. It's a small addition. It's going to be 6 by 12.5 feet, keeping in line with that bump out. That's even set back further from the southern edge of the house. So it's in no way encroaching on that side yard, which second front yard, which is the street.
Great. Any objection from planning, Deirdre? Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. All in favor? Application granted.
Thank you very much.
Application number 623-22, Paul Gutwine and Van Gutwine. Permission to erect one-story addition, two-story addition, and roofed-over porch, leaving front yard of 30.4 feet instead of required 40 feet, side yard of 11.2 feet instead of required 14 feet, total side yards of 26 feet instead of required 28 feet. To leave patio having side yard of 2 feet and driveway on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet each. Residence A District, west side of Thompson Drive, 161.76 feet south of Abbott Place, Bay Shore.
Good evening again, Mr. Dunn.
This one won't be as easy as the last one, but we'll try to get through it. So they are expanding the kitchen in the front, which a lot of people do in that neighborhood. So they are expanding the living room by 7.5 feet and then adding that 5-foot porch on the front. And then on the left side is a kitchen expansion with a master bedroom above. So that's why we came out to that. We were asking for 30.4 instead of 40 to make the second story big enough, usable space for the master bedroom. We did bump out to the side, so we're asking for 11.2 instead of 14. I do have some precedents in the area of 10s and 11.2. There's a 953 Manor Lane has that side yard setback. And I do have a 30.3 foot front yard setback at 931 Gardner Drive, which is 2 blocks over. And I do have 2 others at 32 feet, 32 and change, the next block over on Manor Lane.
Are those within 500-foot radius?
One is just outside 500 and one 939 Manor Lane is less than 500. It's a typical house you'll see in that neighborhood is a 2-story bump out with a porch. And we're kind of keeping in the same vein as that. You'll see a bunch of them on Manor, Gardner, and Thompson.
What does planning have to say, Deirdre? Any objection?
If an A lot is 100 feet wide or wider, it only needs a 30-foot front yard.
So
what is it that they're looking for? Ultimately? Okay. No, that makes sense. I mean, the way we operate is we don't believe in making character. You know, whatever precedent is. So if we go to 30.4, that would be the new standard. Don't you, Mr. Dunn?
I would be okay with 32.
Question.
All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to deny that portion of the application for a front yard of 30.4 and instead to grant 32. And grant the balance of the application.
All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Application number 624-22, J. Richmond and R. Gordon trustees of the Alyssa Wernick Family Trust. Permission to reconstruct dwelling in conforming location and to install decking, leaving front yard of 18.5 feet instead of required 25 feet, side yards of 6.2 feet and 14.5 feet instead of required 15 feet each, and to install outdoor shower on decking, leaving rear yard of 10.3 feet instead of required 15 feet, while having floor area ratio of 39.8% instead of permitted 30%. Residence AAA B District, west side of Keogh Walk, 300 feet south of Central Walk, Fair Harbor.
Good evening. Glenn Graham with Graham Associates, 256 Orinoco Drive, Brightwaters, New York.
Good evening, Mr. Graham. How are you tonight?
Good evening, everybody. This project started out as a renovation of what was a kit house purchased in 1977. As part of the permitting process, we had to go to the DEC, and they're asking us to move the house 2.5 feet back. So in doing so, we decided it would be more cost effective to rebuild it. We are rebuilding the house and decks within the same footprint except for that 2.5 feet. The deck setbacks remain as they are in 1977 and CO'd in 1980. The decks are on the CO. However, we're going to rebuild them. Besides that, there is precedent in the area for all the relief sought.
Even the FAR, right? No, it's Fair Harbor, 39.8 precedent.
Yeah, this 39% from 21. There's a 41.8 from 2017. And those are all within 500 feet.
How about the side yards?
Yeah, same thing. Side yard, second fried application 807-16 had a side yard of 5.6 instead of 15.
Okay.
If it matters, the applicant owns.
I'm sorry, I just want to, I'm just reading the application, maybe you can help me out. It says side yards of 6.2 feet and 14 instead of 15. Okay, so it's just the one side yard.
Yeah, one's the ocean front, one's behind the house to the north, and there is precedent at 5.6.
Thank you.
Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion. All in favor? Application granted.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Take care.
On the next application, 625-22 Hem Development 2 Corp., we've had a request for an adjournment. Is there anyone here to be heard on that application? Okay, the request is to adjourn it to an open date.
Yeah. So they requested an adjournment before they came tonight. So we won't know until they call back the office and put another date back on. All right, sorry about that.
So you all wanted to be heard on it?
Well,
The representative had an injury and couldn't be here tonight. So, sorry?
Yes,
We're picking an open date now. Yeah, we're not sure when.
no problem.
Sorry.
Have a great night. You too.
You know, we should announce the adjournments again.
I meant to. Yes. Well, I couldn't announce it before 6:30. It was only a 6:30 call.
Yeah.
So they waited.
Yeah. Yeah. We feel like
I turned the page and it was him, and I was all flustered by getting that out of the way. He was the first 6:30.
he flustered you.
I have to handle it the right way, right? Get the refusal correct. Application number 626-22. Dennis Perez. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-602. Residence B District, northeast corner of MK Street and Spur Drive, Bay Shore.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, it's 1499 in Cave Street, Bayshore, New York, 11706.
And your name is?
Yes, I'm Dennis.
Dennis? Okay.
Yes.
So you're here to establish accessory apartment 665.1 square feet. Driveway complies. Everything seems to be in order. It's owner occupied, correct? You're gonna live there?
Yes, I did a accessory apartment.
You're gonna live in the house, right?
Yes, I live in
Okay.
the house.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
See you in 3 years. Application granted.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Application number 627-22, Jose Quintanilla, Lydia, and Jose Quintanilla. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code, Section 68-602. Residence A District, north side of Leahy Avenue, 985.75 feet west of Wicks Road, Brentwood.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm here just to translate on behalf of my grandpa.
Great. Can you just pull that microphone up because we can't hear you?
Sure. Sorry.
Your name is?
Jennifer Ventura. He is Jose Quintanilla. He's the house owner. I'm just on his behalf. I've been helping him out with the process and everything.
Okay, great. So he's seeking permission to establish an accessory apartment. Apartment is 426.9 square feet. Driveway complies. Everything seems to be in order. Owner occupied. He's going to live there?
Yes.
Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. All in favor? Application granted. See you in 3 years.
Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Take care.
Application number 628-22, JS 130 Sunrise Realty LLC. Permission to install ground sign having sign area of 132 square feet instead of permitted 48 square feet, having height of 30 feet instead of permitted 15 feet, and not having required front yard setback of 30 feet. Business 3 District, south side of Sunrise Highway, 664.94 feet east of Higby Lane, West Islip.
Good evening.
Hello, Michael Colamusi, North Shore Neon Sign Company, 295 Skidmore Road, Deer Park, New York. I'm here with Ed Castellano. He is from COLAMUSSI.
And Ed Castellano, CASTELLANO.
I'll start with, I'm a true believer of pictures worth 1,000 words, so I got some handouts.
Sure.
I got 7 of them here. The actual sign itself, which currently exists at 555 Sunrise Highway in West Islip, at what is now Empire Chrysler or Dodge, which used to be a Volkswagen dealership. That sign was originally installed in 2011. It was permitted and installed at that point by Lisa Pace attorneys, actually got the variance and the approval. The sign at that time was considered 66 square feet because the whole concept of a sign being wider than 12 inches encompassing square footage didn't exist in the code back then, and it currently now. So because of the thickness of the sign, they're considering both sides and the columns themselves.
What's the height of
The
exhibit
current
A?
height is 30 feet.
Wait, let me finish.
I'm sorry.
You can't take both of us.
All right.
And right now, my voice is more important than yours. And when
Absolutely.
you speak, yours will be more important than mine. What is the height of exhibit B?
30 feet.
Okay. And it's how many square feet?
It's computed at 66 square feet, the sign area itself, but the town is now considering it larger because they're counting both sides of the sign because of the thickness of the sign.
Okay.
It's right on Sunrise Highway, right?
So when it was approved, it was 66, but today it would be.
It's considered 132.
All right.
Now, that's just to explain that the sign currently exists. It's an aluminum sign.
Is exhibit B2 your proposed sign?
No, that's the sign before. Right now, it has a banner on it that says Chrysler. That's the first page. The second page is what the sign actually looks like without the banner on it. You can see it's a Volkswagen logo. The logo itself is the only thing that lights up. Everything else is metal. So,
B2 is going to be what it looks like.
correct.
So you're taking the same sign and just changing the letter?
Well, not even the lettering, just
The-
it actually gets a new logo form because Volkswagen has
You're
updated
taking
it.
the same sign, putting a new thing.
And we're looking to bring it to the location at 130 Sunrise Highway, which is where the Volkswagen dealership is now.
Where is it now? Where is
I
the
have
sign-
another
where's the sign
handout.
currently?
At 555 Sunrise Highway in West Iceland.
So let me ask you, hold on, Deirdre, any objection here with, for the sign on Sunrise Highway from planning? But it was approved though, wasn't it approved already?
When there wasn't a restriction on that.
Well, there was always a restriction on the 18-foot Sunrise Highway.
As was mixed, it wasn't so I think it might have been working, or they want to take out to
What heights
Yeah.
are there?
Yeah.
May I show you? I have
Wait,
the
wait,
handouts
wait.
that will help.
I
Sorry.
know you're all anxious.
You guys are lightning fast too, let me tell you.
Well, what do you think is reasonable?
Because this is not a part of Sunrise Highway where anyone is going or any other party change, it's not what's happening. This part of the property, I don't see why it can't get down.
I think the applicant stated that they approved this sign through, I think the name he used was Lisa Pace at the old property,
Correct.
and that was at the same exact height that it is now?
Yes, it's a sign. The sign is not being touched at all in terms of just taking the banner off and putting an updated Volkswagen logo on it.
And moving it.
And locating it to.
I don't
the
want
other
to interrupt, and I know, Deirdre, you're actively presenting, but if you could zoom out so that we can see where the Atlantic Auto Mall is.
May I show you the next handout?
No, just 1 second. And then show the Atlantic Auto Mall. Okay, so some of the basis for the height relaxations at the Atlantic Auto Mall have been the overpass over Udall Road. So when the Volkswagen sign at the Auto Mall was approved, it followed along a history of height relaxations being granted at the Auto Mall.
Well, it's not at the Auto
Wait,
Mall.
can you not interrupt?
I'm sorry.
If you
I'm sorry.
can't,
All right, I'm back.
then we will do this without you.
I'm sorry.
Understood?
Understood.
So where was the Volkswagen dealership that you're now moving to here?
The Volkswagen dealership currently is the original
Oh, the old Atherton Jean Cadillac? Okay, so that's even further away then. I was assuming it was at the auto mall, and that was where you were basing your argument on, because I guess the auto mall's 500, more than 500 feet away, Deirdre? You're not picking up the precedent for height there? Huh.
So let me ask this question. The other, for argument's sake, Cadillac dealership that was at the time, is that in the same grade change as Sunrise Highway, or was it granted at that height in the same type of location that this gentleman's asking for his client to have the sign on Sunrise Highway?
So over here, there is a bridge instead over Udall Road. So it does get higher there, so maybe that must be discussed, but it wasn't told me.
It would have been the Robert Moses Causeway that would have been the site of destruction at the old Volkswagen dealership that you've described, correct? Is that the Causeway?
Yes.
Yes.
May I?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, this is the actual new facility. There currently is a sign that was granted back in 1978 for 150 square foot sign at 35 foot overall height. What you'll
Hold
see
on 1 second. I'm sorry. Guys in the back, could you, your voice is carrying, it's disturbing us.
This
Take
is-
it outside, please.
So this is 35 foot
That
sign
sign is
at the
35
present
foot
site?
tall. That's at the
You
site.
should have started with this.
I was going to, but I thought I should explain the new sign first.
So the-
That's why this is called A, if you notice. I should have started, yes.
Yeah.
No, the idea is that this current sign that you see as A is an existing Chrysler sign that if you go to the second page, that's the sign without the Volkswagen banner on it. If you go to the third page, that's the permit that was issued in 2008 for the sign as it exists now. The fourth page is the original Dodge sign at Herbie Dodge that was granted in 1978 for 150 square feet at 35 foot overall height. So as you can see, some changes have been made. Herbie Dodge eventually turned into Atlantic Dodge, which eventually is now West Islip Volkswagen. So the precedent of an existing sign there all along has existed. In addition to obviously many signs at the Auto Mall and
So-
other signs throughout Iceland. No,
But we have a sign that's already been approved by a permit and higher than what you're asking for, correct?
and bigger square footage as well.
And bigger square footage. You should have
But
started, you
that's
should have started with
counting the
this.
entire area of
You
one
should have started
side.
with this. We could
I'm
have saved us
sorry.
a lot of
I'm sorry.
aggravation.
I'm
Has
not
that
trying
been
to confuse.
approved by this board? This sign that's higher and bigger?
I don't know.
It's right here.
And does it,
Well, the BZA application goes back to, it's the application, the BZA grant is 260-78. As far as I know, I've been working in the town of Iceland for 42 years. George Lorenzo was the original sign inspector I dealt with, so the name was similar.
No,
We-
it's not. fair.
No, I'm just saying though, the height was always 15 foot, 18 feet on Sunrise Highway. That has existed as long as I've been working here. And the only place, again, I think that something to understand is that these automotive dealerships, they have corporate branding that's obviously extremely important. They're selling vehicles that are now worth $100,000. The dealerships themselves, the signs, and I got another handout. The signs are somewhat handsome. They're not ragged looking. They're maintained by the corporation. If you drive on Sunrise Highway and you see these signs, I promise you, they don't bother people. It's the garbage out there that does, you know? And
Well,
these signs are actually handsome signs.
So I think your argument should really be that this sign was there at that height and permitted
And larger
and larger.
than what we're asking.
So that's what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay, let's keep it at that. I think that would help.
but if it wasn't granted by a variance,
It was right here.
Well, it's just not for height, it's height. It's not an issue.
That was this year back there, but it was a bigger sign. It was Herbie Dodge. It's been there forever.
and it's gonna be at the same location.
Yeah, well, obviously a new foundation, and that's one of the reasons
It's gonna be the exact same location.
well, we'd say exactly, we have to dig out the old footing, put a new footing in.
Well, within a 5 foot.
Yeah,
radius.
yes, it's, the idea is to be in the middle of the property. And we would provide engineering, which would normally allow us to have the 1 foot setback as long as we have engineering to withstand the local 130 mile an hour wind load, which is something that we would provide at the point of.
That's stuff you have to take care of and you have to have. correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But that's to get the 1 foot setback. And the 1 foot setback really isn't critical. That was just a number we came up with because we knew we were going to provide the engineering, but most likely we would set it back 5, 6, 7 feet, something like that. If I may, I do have one other handout, just so you can see again. It's the corporate branding signs that are throughout the town. They all, like I said, they're handsome signs. They're not meant to be garish in
We
any
can't
way.
we can't make our decision if they're handsome or not.
No, but there's also some very tall ones. Atlantic
Right.
Cadillac has.
I think your argument has to stay that there was an approved sign on this property larger than this at the same height.
Well,
Next time, give us all the handouts at once, please.
I'm sorry. This is just trying to show some precedent, obviously, of what we have. And I'm a Long Island person. I think Sunrise Highway in Islip looks a lot better than Sunrise Highway in Babylon. And the automotive dealerships might have a lot to do with that. There's a lot of dealerships in Islip, and they're big facilities. Got one sign out there. You start driving into Babylon, it's a whole different ballgame on Sunrise Highway.
This is a brand new $6 million building. And this is the last one. We basically just fixed facilities and would order to build a new facility by the state.
Understood.
Again, and just keep in mind, the only thing that illuminates is the logo itself. So the actual square footage of the illuminated area that you would see at night is probably something like 30 square feet per side.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Granted. Have a good night. Sorry. You want to do this really quick?
Yes, there are 10 accessory apartments to renew for a period of 3 years.
I'll make a motion to approve the 10 accessory apartments for a period of 3 years. All in favor? Any readings, man? We have a few readings.
No, we don't have any.
We don't have any variance? Okay. Make a motion to adjourn the meeting? No?
No, I talked to council and now we don't.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second. All in favor?